Alrighty. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. You'll have to excuse my fucking ethereal look. Sometimes you gotta act the part. It's December the 10th, and the social media ban has begun. So that means that legally there are no under 16-year-olds present, which means that we finally get to acknowledge all the bullshit that all of you have done over the last 5 years, with all the full expression of the English language and the expression of the warning of what will happen if you ever fucking try anything like that again. Now, my story that I began telling started on the 10th of December. It started on the 10th of December because I was sitting with my girlfriend at the time, and she said into her phone, she said, "Hey Google, play me a song." Not anything else. "Hey Google, play me a song." And at this time, Google used its super access to every potential scrap of music or song ever written, and it began to spurt out some type of cobbled together fucking nonsense about how we should all get a vaccine. And as a musician and as a songwriter, I was so hideously offended by this that I began a non-stop critique and criticism of all of you that were going along with this. And you can see it. If you go to my Instagram and you scroll down to the highlights, which is the little circular pictures, these are like chapters in a book. You can go all the way to the right. Okay, and there's one highlight before COVID, before the vaccine mandate. And I'm doing acting. I'm like pretending I do this same monologue in all these different accents, as a now 4 or 5 year younger person, with no worries, not a care in the world. And then there's a highlight called the red pill. Now, what gave me the foresight to do that? I don't know, but that's where this story started. It starts there, and it's still going. It's still going right here. I've raided my girlfriend's drawer, and I've put on makeup, and I've put on all these clothes, and I don't understand exactly why, but I'm kind of cool with it, except for the 10 or 15 kilos that I've put on by being fed in a trough fashion. My usually quite humble diet. I've been well fed, as my daughter said. But that has increased certain aspects of my bodice. But I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's going on. But yeah, I started there. I started telling a story. And the chances that on the exact same day, 4 years later, that a world-leading social media ban, in which, as I go through my diary, I'm just constantly addressing the things that are going on. Well, I just guess it's confirmation. Yesterday, I finished doing a presentation in which I described to that's fronting this ban, how we're not going to stop at social media. We're actually going to go all the way to the phones, because my hashtag Scale Matters, which kind of appeared halfway through, was a realization that it's the scale of the people on the phone that we're not seeing properly. We're not actually, this is giving a false reading. So every single piece of anything that anyone has receives on a phone is false. It is a false, out of sync, delusion that humanity has been doing. And this is why we were able to be kind of fooled to such an extent by this vaccine rollout, which has killed people. And has you can't go back and you can't say, oh, well, this shouldn't happen, because we're here now. It's happened. And this is where we're at. And more than likely, a lot of the distraction, a lot of the chaos, a lot of the political back and forth, all this has just been there to shield certain individuals who, wanted another couple of years of sinful fucking debauchery on Earth under the cover of the distraction that this government has been seeing. But I was as right 4 years ago as I am now. It's just that now I'm really right and I have evidence against it. And so this is where, if you haven't participated in a 4-year-long defense of your country, you have absolutely zero authority to distribute the device in question to the person's children. And you are now fugitives of a system. Every day that luckily for you, my 2 eldest children have aged out of this. My youngest child, if he has an iPhone in his hand, I will shoot Brad Doody in the face for every, do you know what I mean? This is, if I see an iPhone in my son's hand, I will shoot his stepfather completely legally. Right? If 4 years of constant, this isn't enough to make that claim, well then, sure as hell, we've got to go back all that time, because shooting an Aboriginal family because you've decided to plant wheat on their land definitely wasn't. And so this is an Aboriginal uprising, and we're going to mow down every single white family in this country as the British Empire. The British Empire, right? I know yous have all fucking been asleep, but the British Empire is back. We've got to clear the land of all the invaders for the Aboriginal people, because we fucked them over. And this is, they said we can keep the land and we can keep doing all this stuff, but we've got to get rid of all the invaders that have rocked up in the last 80 years. They said, no, that's enough. They said that 80 years ago, that's enough. You haven't even got control of your own fucking system. You're letting all these people in. You're losing control. You promised us that you'd have control. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Aboriginal law. Rah, 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 rah. They've said that we have to fucking kill all the invaders that have rocked up here in the last 80 years, especially if they're fucking distributing fucking iPhones, which the Aboriginal people, I don't know if any of the historians out there have realised this. Aboriginal people did in fact not have iPhones. They just didn't. It wasn't a thing. They didn't even participate really in any of the things that are going on iPhones, like gossip and fucking hearsay and fucking, marketing and advertising and capitalism and all. And look, I'm a fan of capitalism, but as I said, we fucked them over really badly. And in order for us to keep our land, we have to fucking clear the land of all the invaders. So now's the time to volunteer. You know what I mean? Just like you did to the people that didn't get a vaccine, even though it was hotly debated, you just continued on. You called us all these things. Well, anyone whose family has arrived in Australia in the last 80 years, you are now illegal refugees. You are illegal immigrants on this land, according to Aboriginals. Yeah, we're just doing the paperwork, and we've done a lot of it. As I said, 4 years of constant I don't care what you've seen on your little Game Boy. I don't care what you've read in your little fucking newspaper. Unless you have a substantial defense against these claims, you are invading our country and we will fucking kill you. Okay, there was a little handover ceremony. We've been dealing with this in the international waters naval sense, which is why it's been kept, in a kind of entertaining state. And we look at the legalities and the intricacies, and we're trying to figure this whole thing out. Now we have handed over to an on-the-ground army military force, and we are about to act. Okay, so if you have an iPhone that you've distributed to young people in this country, and you try and prevent that iPhone being taken off them, you will be put in jail. Right? This country wasn't built on iPhones. It wasn't built on any of the things that is captured the attention of the people. And it's so common. It's like, yes, the politicians muffed everything up, but everybody did. Right? Yes, it took 4 years, but that could have taken 40 years. So 4 years is pretty good. But the important thing is that now we're acting. We're acting in the way that we should have back then. If these devices are not appropriately, fitting into the continuity of humanity, especially, humanity existing here in Australia, they are to be removed. Right? It's not the end of the world. I'm coming to you right now from a laptop, which is completely fine. Believe it or not, the laptop will it's not the be all end all. It's the bridge to where we're going. And because you're all going to be so upset about the fact that you don't have a little handheld rectangle in your hand, this will be the thing. And these laptops, you can get them for, they're about a tenth of the price of a phone anyway. And they won't turn your brain to mush, and they won't be used as a weapon of war. And you can pretty much access everything that you were already accessing. It's the handheld nature of it. See, almost no one puts the phone down. It's in their hand. This is the real fucking problem. Okay, it fits in the hand. The only real thing that has ever fitted in someone's hand like that are weapons. Right? So believe it or not, this laptop now, both my hands, it is sat up on a ledge as I'm looking out a window and talking to you all. That's enough for now. It should be taken seriously. This guy's been fucking sitting and dressing up in crazy clothes and talking out his window every fucking morning for the last 4 years, while I've just been playing fucking whatever, spins or watching fucking, TikToks. Imagine this, imagine we need to do it all at once. We can't have a million fucking people going in and going, oh, he's watching your TikToks. Oh, right. Why didn't you unify under this resistance of this clear invasion? Isn't it what would it take for you all to fall in line under an authority figure, clearly in defense of his country? Well, I've seen that it's nothing. It's like because it's the same thing that the pharmaceutical companies have always used. People instinctively will want to go away from pain. Right? You want to go. The pain of actually having to attempt to defend your country, if it is really easy to just disassociate from that pain, to just look at your phone. No, but that's not going on. And I've had to sit there and watch it. These are my own children. You know what I mean? They're basically convinced. They're like, oh yeah, Dad's insane. No, Dad's not insane. Dad's been defending the country for 4 years, non-stop. And you're all hypnotized and basically drug addicts because your alcoholic mother and stepfather have basically thrown their hands up in the air, have failed to adequately defend any of the principles that have defended and maintained this nation for its existence, and thrust the culture of your father's lineage to all corners of the earth. Yes, they have avoided that and continued to enter a fucking palace of sin, and have been with security of our entire nation. I don't like it to be just targeted at these two or at my own children, but I am, because I'm showing you what is expected. This is the largest mistake that anyone has ever made, but we are at the forefront of fixing it. We are taking responsibility as a country, and it doesn't just end at social media. Social media is the only way. It's like, right, we've identified a problem. From my telling of it, the problem is that social media, when adapted to the handheld paradigm, has completely destroyed the fucking world, or really, really done its best to try and do that. So we don't have the time or the the capabilities or the whatever or the resources to all of a sudden birth us. And it's kind of we're better for it. If I was being Steve Jobs now and saying, "Oh, look, here's my Scale Matters device. It's only $10,000 and you can get it, and it's going to fix the world." That's not the case. You've got to use all the things you've been using, but you've got to go back one step to the laptop. I would say just bypass the tablets as well. Anything tablet or fucking, you've got to have something that appears as a tool, that isn't just accepted as an extension of your body. Okay, we've got to remain that this is an interface into a place that is very important. The communications and the conversations that we should be having here are very important. There's an open invitation for anybody to join in constructively, but all I get is people I can just I don't even know, like just yelling, like barking dogs, yelling at a fucking fence line. No, we don't need that. We need autonomous, like diplomatic authority to emerge. If you have the urge just to enter this arena in this time, you should be there. And the same, if you feel like you've really buggered the last period up, then you should step out. But there shouldn't be any retribution unless you've really been a nasty so-and-so. But it's like no one could have preempted this. It's the success of the device, which it's just like it was so successful in integrating into our humanity that and that happened so quickly that we didn't adequately critique it, which is just crazy. And if we're not doing, if you think it's like, if you look at any photograph of a crowd now, taken now on this day, on the 10th of December or whatever, everyone's got a phone, right? 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. Just 10 years. If anything else had have happened like that, especially the amount of like interaction that this thing is used for, this is used for humanity. So this is like a sub-tier humanitarian simulation has been projected over the top of our world, over the top of our nations and our civilizations. And unless you actively test it, unless you go in there, which is scary, you will never find out that it is absolutely like insufficient for that purpose. So it is just a novelty device. Which, if it was sold as this, we would have been okay. Nobody tried to take over the world with a Game Boy because it was sold as a novelty device. This was sold as everything. This is the everything device. And there was a fucking space race to apply every single thing, to boost the cameras, to get all this. And look, it got us to here. So it hasn't been a complete failure. It's arguable whether if we didn't have this fidelity of this system, of this Apple system, whether we could actually, even recognize this. That's what I said. If this took 40 years, there's a real chance that we'd never adapt. So it's the rampancy, the enthusiasm and the total immersion of this system that has actually led to its being used to identify and then distribute the knowledge that it is a failure. Right, my house that I'm defending is cladded with asbestos. It still is cladded with asbestos. There is hundreds of thousands of houses, millions of houses all around Australia that are cladded with asbestos or asbestos on their roofs. Even Twiggy's, he's doing the old nostalgia trick, and he's put asbestos in his fucking wind turbines. It's the true blue Aussie way, is to have asbestos surrounding you. But asbestos wasn't interfering in thousands of years of developed human diplomatic systems and communication systems and breeding systems and child rearing and education. Like, it didn't. It just stopped the fucking rain getting into my house. And so the fact that it's still there, yes, I'm aware of the dangers. I'm very much hoping to replace it with something that is more harmonious, more less toxic. But the time period is different. So, and this is like really a snapshot. It's like, I have a house half renovated that I have completely abandoned in order to prevent a far larger catastrophic technological failure from being falsely fully integrated into our system. And the problem is that I'm battling salesmen from every industry that are very good, finance people that are very good. There is so much on the board to keep this going, because people have put their entire life savings on this being the reality. But those people have not tested it. They have not tested its effectiveness. They especially have not tested basically its flammability. So the best way to think of like this handheld smartphone system network is so flammable, right, that it would make your head spin. Right. So if you think of something flammable, like think of the London fires. The entire city of London burnt down because it was made of wood. And you can kind of see it. People started bringing in light. They started bringing in oils, whale oils, candle wax, fabrics, all these things, and stacking them inside these wooden houses. And as the population went in, right, no one had really thought that the entire fucking city of London could just burn down, but it did because it was so flammable. Not everyone bringing in, like, people just wanted light, and this is the same. People just wanted entertainment. They just want to be able to connect with whatever. Now, all of these things you can do on a network that is it's probably half as flammable, right? So if everyone now goes back to a laptop and a flip phone, you can have a flip phone, all that still works. And you can connect your flip phone to the laptop. I basically described it yesterday. I said, right, well, we're having all this knife crimes, and this is something that's really hot topic. If I'm cutting up onions in my kitchen, I want a really sharp knife. If I take that knife into a fucking inner city suburban mall, I'm a criminal. And this is the same thing, right? It is so sharp, but it is being inappropriately used. And more importantly than the knife, see, if you take a knife and you know that it's there to threaten someone, you know that it's sharp, you know that it's a deadly weapon. The problem with the phones is that they're not being addressed as this. They're still being addressed as basically a necessity. And that is the dangerous rift, right? Something that is hideously detrimental to humanity is still being projected as a necessity, not as a luxury. It is now being projected as a necessity, and this is seen by even here in the Labor Party in Western Australia, bragging and claiming that you can now clock on with your smart fucking tap and go. Well, you can still use a card. Do you know what I mean? It's like we have to reject this. We have to reject this smartphone thing. The days of all our adaptation are gone. It hasn't happened. It's too late. You had your chance. You didn't adapt. You've continued to just rot your brain on Reels or on gossip or on TikTok or on online betting or on online dating or on all these fucking things, right? and you've failed to adapt. We've given it a fucking go and it has failed. So it is now an illegitimate projected fucking network of sin. So if you are carrying an iPhone, this is it. This is precedent now. It's like under 16. Really, now that there hasn't been riots in the streets, obviously, because it's just a fucking stupid phone. And so it's not social media. It's like, this is it. It's like there hasn't been riots in the streets. There hasn't been the fucking tantrums. The social media identified as the problem is false telling, because social media will work actually appropriately if everybody steps into it with the same authority that they step into a courtroom. Not always. It doesn't always have to be that. If a lot of people aren't educated enough that, like, do you know that a courtroom is just an extension of a royal court, which is where people would gather and discuss things, and like order would kind of emerge in this chaotic conversation. And a court is just like, well, in really serious circumstances, a court will be assembled and then we will get to the bottom of whatever the conflict is. So every interaction in social media is a court. So I guess that getting the children out is basically, a continuation of the fact that children shouldn't be tried for laws that they don't understand and that they're not adequately mature enough to fathom. So we are now all locked inside the social media court, and we will get to the bottom of this. Now, my first claim is that the phones need to be taken away. It's like, as an employer and as a tradesman, it's like, if I have a person working for me and they have a phone in their pocket, I don't want that. I don't want it. Yes, if they have a small flip phone that rings and it's their nana and that she's fucking unwell or something like that, that's okay. I don't want the distraction of an online super casino in that person's pocket while they're holding the other end of something that can potentially kill me or a lot of other people. And this applies to every single profession. And if it doesn't, then you really don't have enough authority to even speak on this issue. I don't have a problem with that individual having a high-powered, beautiful laptop that they can progress and do things on. Because the reason that I've been adequately prepared myself to do this has majoritively taken place on a laptop, not on a phone. I've rejected the phone, and I'm bringing this up. I haven't played a Game Boy ever. I never had a Game Boy. This is all this really is. It's just a massive tantrum because I wasn't given a Game Boy. No, it's not. If you actually argue against this, you're having a tantrum because your Game Boy is being taken away as a grown adult who has just fucking completely failed to adequately self-emerge and adequately defend the nation that they claim to be a citizen of. It's really bad stuff, but we're doing something about it. So isn't that good? So why am I dressed like this? I'm dressed like this so that I don't physically act out the rage that I have. So I self-feminize in order to not be hyper-masculine, because this is such a disorienting thing to have to do. Because my territory or my country, my family has been invaded, but the invaders do not know that they're invading. It's a network effect on a fucking video game. Like, start stepping through that. So I have to step into your arena as a video game, do something that I know is can just be laughed at. You go, look at him, he's silly. Well, I can guarantee you, if I spent 20 more minutes in this and I had some fucking a makeup artist, all these things, you'd be like, holy shit, who is that gorgeous fucking goddess? I don't put the effort in because I don't really care. I don't need to go to the fucking lengths of a Marvel movie in order to make this message. The world cannot deteriorate to a video game that doesn't adequately respond or reflect the continuity of our political system and our defense system. It can't. If you've been participating in an unbroken 4-year critique and protest and whatever against this, And as I said, and you want to timestamp and grab whatever I've said and question me on it, I look forward to receiving that. But if you haven't done that, if you have just been carelessly participating in the downfall of Western civilization, then it's time to wake up, get some smelling salts, and I don't know, have a strong coffee and just breathe in and out and go, well, I'm so glad I live in a country where there is like such a streamlined, unstoppable defense force. Maybe, and by the fact that he hasn't had to kill anyone in a foreign land. He hasn't shot anyone out of a helicopter. He hasn't blown anyone up. He hasn't fucking participated in genocide. He hasn't colonized anyone else's land. He's defending his own land. And so then maybe you should put a lot of your grievances and a lot of your pre-considerations of what it means to defend and what it means to be in the military in this country away. You should put them aside. If you've come from a country that does participate in genocide or terrorism or totalitarianism or all of these things, then maybe this is the first time you've ever seen anything that isn't that. An organized, unstoppable, like harmonious, team-based, multi-gender, multi-racial, multi-ethnicity, multi-age group, multi-professions, everything, really beautiful display of harmonious defense of a country, of a nation. And you'll see a whole lot more of that as soon as you put your phone down. As soon as you remove social media apps from a smartphone, what do you have? You basically have a handheld weapon. And so there's no reason that an under 16-year-old should have them. At all. So the fine that I displayed the other day was implied onto Apple. The fine is because you're going to have to reimburse all these people on the device that they've bought off you. Because apart from that, it's just a really expensive, like weird digital camera analog thing. I don't even know. But from those devices, they're going to be stripped. They're going to be whatever. They're going to be pulled apart. They're going to be turned into all. If you want a digital camera, buy a digital camera. You know what I mean? If you want to communicate with your friends, communicate with your friends. But do it as close to one-to-one scale as you possibly can. Which this actually is. It's like if you blow this up, this isn't intended to be watched on a phone. See, already I have to break the thing. You have to go horizontal. You have to go landscape. It shouldn't be. You should watch it on a TV. If you watch it on one of these newfangled big TVs, I'm pretty much the same size as I am in real life. Obviously, you can't see me from the waist down, but that's just appropriate because if you did, it might distract you from what I'm saying because you'd be seeing more of me, especially if you're my children. You'd be seeing more of your dad than you'd ever really want to see. But yeah, that's the intended thing. We need to encourage people to get to here as quickly as we can. And we need to kind of clear the landscape so that is opened back up again, so that there aren't these barriers. The fury and the smoke that has continued after the mandates has lasted far too long. Far too long. There's been too many, and it's all happened because of this dissociation. Our politicians literally thought that they could just block anyone who was against them. Obviously, anyone who uses a phone to oppose me is not to be taken seriously. And we will show this by now banning the phones. But I haven't been using a phone. I've been using my voice and my presentation and this. It just happens to have taken place on the internet. The internet isn't bad. The internet on phones turned bad. Right? It turned really bad. You really just need to understand that it basically is a pokey machine, like a slot machine in your hand. And if you want to be a degenerate, no longer will you be able to freely distribute that to your underage children. And so, yeah, there is no need. This is this is a all-out offensive maneuver to restore democracy, to restore our nation, to wake it up from its slumber. We've all kind of been Sleeping Beauty in a glass coffin. Think of that. Yeah, Sleeping Beauty was in a glass coffin. Well, the front of your phone is glass. It's a glass. There couldn't be a better way to describe all of these things. You know, if you want any tips on how to act, then I don't know. Watch some content from just 15 years ago and see what they were talking about. It's not all going to be good. Some of it's going to be ridiculous, and so a lot of it's really shit. But talk about it. You know, I can't wait to see the young generation. I found this movie that my mum and dad watched when they were teenagers. It's really weird for this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason, this reason. Look, it's not all bad, these things. The social media has actually exposed these young people to lots of different ideas. And as soon as they have the confidence, instead of this kind of, social media is just like the pub, rah, 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 rah. No. We don't want you on the phone. We don't want you on the addictive things that are enabled by the phone, by the handheld, constant nature. But we do want you to all have an input into what you actually think's going on from all different perspectives, on a device that's appropriate. And you will never regret making the switch back to a laptop. And hopefully we can get to a one-to-one scale device that is, appropriately priced and appropriately connected. And that can become the gold standard of communication. But until then, let's just lean into these networks and attempt to colonize them and to civilize them as we have done all the previous environments that we've thrived in, that we've made work. Australia was a very hostile land when my ancestors got here, and just previous to this iPhone catastrophe, it was an amazing place. It was really going places, but it can't go places when we're all somewhere else. Okay, we've got to get back to Australia. And that can take place on social media and should take place on social media. But we all need to step into the realization that, the majority of us have been in quite literally a state of hypnotism by a very irresponsibly distributed communication interface paradigm. And it's not, look, I'm pretty hard on Apple. It's like look at that, it's got like a little smiley face on it. Isn't that funny? I used a Google Pixel. Look, there's no way I'm going to use this interface, this rectangle, ever again. It's going to stay with me as a constant reminder for the, as I would like a weapon of war, like a bayonet or something like that. That's what it is for me. More than likely it isn't for you because you've just used it as something else. But for me, that's what it is. And so, as soon as I'm actually at a place that is mine and that I can build and establish, family traditions and that, I will mount that next to the things from my grandfathers and great-grandfathers for their military paraphernalia. And yeah, I look forward to telling my grandchildren and perhaps my great grandchildren about this whole thing. But yeah, this was. We can't call it a mistake. I think with anything, if you have faith in a greater power, nothing really is a mistake. It was a lesson. And you don't really ever truly understand the importance of something until it's gone. So I think that's a big aspect of this lesson. We lost our humanity for 4 years, and we're about to get it back. There's a lot of talk by our current sitting government about it's time for children to get their childhood back. It's like the thing that's not being told is that the adults around you, especially if they're kind of between the ages of 27 and 47, or no, 27 and I'd say 42, they really haven't had a childhood. It was stolen in a lot of ways, far more than it was stolen from all of you. And we've been attacked from both sides. We've been attacked by our elders and by our children, and that is fucking terrible. It's fucking terrible, because it's a terrible thing to do to a people, because if retaliate, do you know what I mean? This is why it is pushed and focused a really strange and unique defense. Because if we had have gone to if we had have used the defense of our forefathers, there'd be a lot of old people dead, and there'd be a lot of young people kind of imprisoned in a next generation of enforced, labor or enforced military training or something like that. So yeah, the active participants in the defense during this period from that age group, this is just a message of like, well done, well done. You should be immensely proud at both the ferocity of defense and at the never-ending hope to maintain civilization and to not deteriorate to violence or to over control or totalitarian responses and things like that. This is something to be really proud of once we get over the line of this. So yeah, well, I'm going to go walk around and think and listen back to this, and yeah, I wish you all the best in your own transition. I'm having a transition, and you're all having a transition. I don't actually know when I'm going to continue this transition. There's a real chance that I might, because of what I've been exposed to, and because of what that activated. So the first 2.5, 3 years of this, I was actively preparing for active, and still really am, but I had to balance a bit like 6, 7. I had to balance between historic things and new things. And it's like I had to make those decisions of what to do. But there has been a extremely violent, territorial defensive thing activated in me as a man. And basically, as soon as I feel confident that the greater population has successfully or has effectively got the message and is on a better trajectory, I more than likely will do like a fucking hormone thing, because it's like I don't want to. It's not like I'm born in the wrong body or it's like I cannot be that. effectively. I don't want to turn every single argument for the rest of my life into a death match, but that is what's there. It's like that's the that's the muscle memory, but all of that is kind of stored in my masculine father archetype. And so, yeah, there is a high likelihood that I might pursue that. I haven't decided yet. And I haven't actually participated in anything like that. So that's even weirder. Like, I'm not on hormones. I'm having to do this and present this to defend, like, because it's the same thing for a lot of people doing this. If you're not, mine is like to protect myself and people around me. But there's a lot of people who they're never going to go that ultra masculine. So you either go one way or the other. And so a lot of people go that way. And my guess is that if we can transfer these communication systems, get out of the handheld hypnotism delusion, then the fidelity of our diplomacy around the world will become so high that probably there will be a feminization of a lot of what you consider masculine. But and this isn't new. This isn't a new, like, most positions of authority throughout Western civilization have been feminine manifestations of power, because that is what is perceived as a better strategy. Like, if I was literally sitting here with a blood dripping axe and invading you with fucking, like, covered in shaved head and tattoos, you'd be all fucking a lot more terrified. That could be it could very easily be where I'm at. So you've got to understand that about history. It's like, this is a presentation of femininity by a person doing something extremely masculine as a reassuring thing. It's like, well, if he's doing all this and he's dressed up like a girl, the future can't be that bad. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not. We're not taking anything from you that anyone would have ever fought for. Obviously, if you're these new generations that have had a phone in your hand the whole time, you might feel this is stressful. It's like, it's not. It's not stressful at all. I have not had one single craving to use my phone since I've gone away from it. Not one. I went to a tablet for a small period of time. That was okay. And now I've gone to this. And I'm doing something really crazy and seriously, like, vital. Like, I need to use these things. But I don't miss the phone at all. I sometimes miss the videography capabilities. But that could be easy by a digital camera, and probably actually to a higher level. There were some things on Instagram that were kind of handy, and I use them really artistically, but that could be placed on a non-social media platform, on a dedicated artistic platform. So it's like, this is what Zuckerberg doesn't really know. It's like, you've got some really beautiful tools there that don't need to be integrated into social media, because they weren't being responded to by social media appropriately anyway. So all of this is what we've got to figure out. We've got to figure out what's like, okay, well, if we're all access to a handheld pokey machine, it turns into Las Vegas. There's all the prostitutes, women, and there's the gambling, and there's the violence, and all the things that you'd expect in Las Vegas. But we can't have the world be like that. So we need to have the correct inspirations when we're going. We don't need the imitation Caesar's palace. We actually need to understand the systems and the distributed authority that actually leads to something being built that is that level. And it's like, I look around and look anywhere. You can look at Berlin and see some of the towers, some of the construction. Look at Washington. You can see it. We cannot build that now. We cannot. It's my hope that, like, maybe when I'm 70 or 60, maybe if we can do a good job at pioneering, colonizing these online spaces, maybe we can get back to that. But that's a long way to go. And we have an entire generation of people that have just been deluded to the actual difficulty of grand undertakings. And it's like, this is I think this is honestly explains a lot of our politicians. They played SimCity. That's it. They played SimCity, and so they entered this social media world and this iPhone world with that intention, and they started seeing the people holding the iPhones as the Sims, and really that's what it is. And if you don't know what those things are because you're under the age of 30, you should go and look it up, and then you'll understand it all. You've been packaged and prepared as a remote control car that our politicians are driving around. And that's really, it's not how we want you all to be. And it just doesn't make sense. It's like, we can't individually drive each of you around. In order to do things, you need to be uniquely inspired and then in turn devoted to a particular aspect of civilization, which is what I did with glass. The moment I got into that trade, I was obsessed with it. Do not stop until you find something like that. And I guarantee you it will come if you don't settle. Don't settle. Find what it is that really sings to you and go fully into it. And you'll be surprised. It's like, don't be confined or constrained by other people's interpretations of your particular speciality or your particular profession. And this goes all the way from, delivery boys on a bike delivering a pizza, all the way up to like barristers. Do not be confined by other people's interpretations or prescriptions as to your upper echelon limit of what you are capable of within that trajectory or within that profession. Yeah. All right. Well, that's 51 minutes, 52 minutes on the 10th of December, exactly 4 years after I began this story. I'm not finished, but I'm not finished. I don't think I'll ever be finished. And I've had different things like chapters, and I'm not using those things anymore. But I'd say this is a closing of one book. So I'm going to close that book. I'm going to close the book that started with, "Hey Google, play me a song." And the song that came back was all about how we've got to get vaccines, and it was the worst song ever made. That was how the book started, and I'm going to close the book on the 10th of December with the clear display of intent by our government and our population, as I said, because there hasn't been riots in the streets, to do the right thing and to not make the same mistake that we made with vaccines. Like, we're not going to hyper focus down to things like social media. It's like, it's the device. It's the device. It's the handheld device. It's holding another human in your hands, and it being falsely perceived as ownership of that human has led to absolute chaos and catastrophe around the world. And so you will be judged if you have a handheld smart device, especially if you bring it out in somewhere public. It's like, you keep that, in your bottom drawer and your top drawer next to your sex toys and your other fucking things if you're going to participate in that paradigm into the future. I won't judge. There's oftentimes I reach for something in the top drawer, but I wouldn't go bringing that out at a restaurant or at a fucking school assembly or, any of these things. And this is going to be the social response. We've heard the government's authoritarian control response, but the social response to this, all of this, is going to be, socially reinforced. Oh, have you got a smartphone? Oh, yuck. Oh my God, do you know what they were used for? And you just bring it out in public like that. That's really disgusting. You're a really nasty person. It's true what they said about you. Oh my God. I just have this vintage fucking hand crank 8mm fucking film camera. Yeah, we store it and we self-develop it in our dark room. And no, we don't have to go to that level, but just the everything fucking phone. Yeah, bad idea. the everything fucking phone era. It's going to be exactly like the coke sniffing fucking 80s fucking, lycra mullet era, except the difference is that we've got a lot of it documented and we have evidence of all of it. So there's a lot of gossip about that era because not a lot of it, there was the first time that candid cameras and fucking whatever camcorders came out, but most people didn't do it. So there's all this stuff that wasn't seen. It's like we've just seen in intimate detail what the 80s was like to an astronomical level. And so, yeah, I can't wait to see all the little stocks go up and down. Oh, that's my favorite bit. I like seeing all the stocks go up and down and like seeing, oh, that's done that and that's done that and that's, look at all this. And I still would look forward to seeing a fruit tree on everyone's verge. You don't even own that verge. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to fucking start doing it. I'm going to get a gang of fucking scooter kids planting fruit trees on everyone's front verge. And I just can't believe that we haven't done it. Like it's like, I can't imagine the difference that would make. Anyway, I bid you all adieu and wish you all the best on this day. Thank you. Bye-bye.